What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another product installation video. Boy, do we have a fresh new release, fresh off the press. This is for the 2018 to 2023 Jeep Wrangler, also known as the JL, and for the 2019 officially released as a 2020 model through 2023 Jeep Gladiator, also known as the JT. Boy, do we have a treat for you today. Stay tuned. But most importantly, as you very well know, with all of our products, we are the only company on Amazon to be providing you with direct contact information for product support, installation tips, and any other product related questions you may have. You will all receive this card with direct contact information, an email address, and a phone number. You can call or text us. We are here for you to provide you with the best product support in the market, bar none. Let me give you a sneak peek of what this beauty looks like. What does it consist of? And immediately after that, we will be going over all of the harnesses that are included in the kit so that you could get familiar with how to install this radio. Now, this is just a sneak peek. I've already looked at it. I've already gone through it. Let me tell you, this thing is definitely a must. So as you can see in the box, you're going to receive obviously contact information, the main radio, and you're also going to receive a box like this one with all of the harnesses that you need to successfully install this radio into your vehicle. There are no third-party steering wheel control retention modules. There are no third-party dash kits. There are no third-party backup camera retention modules. Guys, we are doing this from A through Z. Your GPS antennas, brackets to mount and bolt this radio onto your dash. It's not just clips holding it in place. This thing will be ready for your vehicle whenever you decide to take it off-road. It will not go anywhere. CAN bus module, main vehicle specific harness, 4G LTE antennas. I'm telling you, feature packed, all the functions you could need. You're not going to want to leave your vehicle. Just a few more specs while we unbox all the harnesses. 8 gigabytes of RAM, 128 gigabytes of built-in memory, ultra high def 13-inch display, wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, SIM card 4G LTE cellular network ready. It comes with an amplified AM/FM antenna adapter so that your AM and FM signal don't suffer when you go from factory to aftermarket. I'm telling you, this is going to be a good one. Okay, so here we go. Now that we have unboxed all of the harnesses, this happens to be some of the harnesses, not all of the harnesses, because some of the things that we're going to be going over today is every single one of these harnesses, including the main harness, which is not here. We're going to go over multi-camera integration module. What is a badass Jeep 13-inch screen without multiple camera inputs? You want to have some looking at your axles. You want to have some looking at your left side, right side. Guys, we're going to show you everything there is to know about this radio and all of the additional accessories that are available for it. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, guys, so pay close attention because this is probably the only time you're going to get to see these harnesses in this form. The angle inside the vehicle, once we get with the installation process, is not going to be the same. So I'm going to get into as much detail as I can right here so that you can start getting familiar with what you're going to be doing in the car. Starting with the microphone, yes, we include a microphone. Yes, you have to use it. A lot of people wondered, can I use the factory microphone? And short answer is yes. but it does require some dissecting. It does require that you do some research to find out where your microphone wires are. And at that point, you would have to cut the wires, put in the 3.5 millimeter plug, and hardwire it that way. Trust me, this microphone is good quality. Two different kind of mounting options. Up against the windshield, it has a ball joint right on it. You can pull this off, or you can use the clip. Same ball joint, it's just a different kind of mount. We'll show you a few ways to install it once we get on with the installation process. Right over here, guys, this is your three sets of RCA outputs, a total of 6 channels, front, rear, and subwoofer outputs. Yes, they are 4-volt preamp outputs, the best outputs you can have on an aftermarket radio. If you want to add aftermarket amplifiers, these are your 6-channel outputs. On the same harness, we also have the microphone plug. So keep in mind, this is the off-white plug. The one with the RCAs has the microphone plug on it as well. Moving along to the black plug here, black connector, 3 yellow RCAs. This is basically 3 camera inputs. If you're not looking at getting into multiple cameras, left and right cameras, front cameras, trailer cameras, axle cameras, you have 3 inputs on the radio from the factory. They're built in, and aside from your factory backup camera labeled factory cam input, which is on the black plug, you have 2 additional camera inputs. These are accessed manually through the radio. The only one that will come up automatically is your reverse camera input, if that's all you care to keep function of. There's a couple of wires here if you're adding aftermarket cameras, 2 aftermarket cameras. If you're adding a rear aftermarket camera, you know that these cameras need power. You can use these wires to provide power to aftermarket cameras. If all you're doing is maintaining function of the factory backup camera, you don't need to use any one of these wires. You just gotta plug in the output of the camera module straight into here, and that's this black plug with the 3 yellow RCAs. Moving right along, we call this a DVR cable, but this is just constant power ground and ignition outputs. If you need to supply power to anything else, this is a 4 amp 12 volt output, both constant and ignition. If you're not going to use it, same thing. Gel tips over here, they're there to protect the ends of the wire, but add additional tape just so that these power wires don't short, because the gel tips fell out in the process of you shoving these wires into the dash. So that's the cyan or green colored plug. This small purple connector here, you guys, is your Toslink fiber optic audio output. I mean, look, if you've ever done a DSP audio system using the fiber optic output, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you have no idea what you're missing. Reach out to us. We have options for DSP amplifiers that use a digital audio in, and all you have to do is run a fiber optic cable from here to the input of your amplifier, and guess what? At that point, you don't have to use the analog outputs of the radio. The only beauty about doing this is here you have front, rear, and subwoofer controls. Through here, it's just left and right audio outputs, but it is variable coming out of our radio. A lot of people are going to want to know that. So that's that purple plug. Moving right along, the gray connector here. This is a AV input. As we know from when we used to have VCRs, you know, old school TVs. I mean, even today, you still have AV inputs. The auxiliary audio input, this is if you want to maintain function of the auxiliary audio input that's on your USB hub, on your dash, right below or next to your window switches. You can use that for this. So then we have a white plug with a USB-A connector. This is just in case you want to add a USB thumb drive with music videos, or you want to add additional MP3, MP4 files. Remember, the radio has 128 gigabytes of built-in memory. You can plug in your music videos here and transfer them onto the radio's hard drive. We'll show you how that gets done once we get on with the installation. Now, this red plug over here is going to have 2 cables coming off of it. One of them is short, The other one is long. The short one is a mini USB connector. This is where the USB plug that you disconnect from your factory screen is gonna go in here. This is to maintain function of the charging function that your factory USB ports have. Remember, CarPlay and Android Auto are gonna now be wireless. Yes, you can do wired Android Auto. You cannot do wired Apple CarPlay. Hear me out again. CarPlay and Android Auto are both wireless. Android Auto is the only one that is wired. Now, if you want to plug in your Android phone, you're going to want to plug into the USB-A input labeled phone USB, phone link USB. Don't plug in to the one that's attached to the white connector. And again, the short one is going to plug into the USB plug you disconnect from your factory screen into here so that your USB hub can continue to charge your devices every time you plug into there. So that's these colored plugs. Now, you look at these modules right over here, starting over to the right. This is a factory backup camera retention module. The factory backup camera behind your screen is a red connector. It's a red FACRA connector. That's going to plug right into here. There is a harness on the main harness that we're going to show you that plugs into here. Coming out of here, you're going to have a CVBS, meaning a non-digital video out for non-digital factory backup cameras. And you're also going to have an UHD output, which means it's for the digital factory backup cameras for those Jeeps that are equipped with a digital camera. And that's all you need to know when it comes to this particular module. Factory backup camera retention module, all it does is it converts from digital to analog. This here is a chime speaker. You do have to add this. There is a plug on the main harness that's going to plug into here. And guys, this is where the magic happens. This is our very own CAN bus module. This is what communicates with the vehicle's data bus. This is what allows our radio to communicate with your vehicle. So this CAN bus module will read ignition 12 volts. It'll read reverse camera trigger, meaning you don't have to run a wire from your reverse light to our radio like you would have to with any aftermarket radio. In this case, you don't, because this module takes care of that for you. Now, if you wanted to add a multi-channel camera interface module, the left and right cameras are also going to be on the bus, meaning you don't have to run a wire from your left turn signal and your right turn signal to the back of the radio so that the radio can trigger left and right cameras whenever you're driving. The radio will trigger automatically because it's already reading the vehicle's data bus and it knows left turn signal is on. Let me activate the left camera. Right turn signal is on. Let me activate the right camera. That's what this CAN bus module does, and it doesn't require any third-party companies to do that. All right, let's move right along here. Let's clear the table. And we're going to go over these accessories up at the top. These here are your new mounting brackets. Basically, there are 4 screws that are holding your factory screen in place. When you take that screen out, those exact same 4 screws are going to hold these 2 brackets. The right side is labeled with an R. You can't see it on the camera, but you'll be able to see it. There's an R there. And the left side is labeled left. Just pay attention because when you're holding these, the tops are aiming in and you have these ears that are aiming out. That's all you got to pay attention to. That's all these are going to do, right? And then the bottoms just go straight down. So these brackets are going to mount to your dash where the factory screen was, using your 4 factory screen bolts. And then we include 5, although you only need 4, we include 5 because this is how the new radio is going to mount to your dash. So you're going to put a screw through the face of the radio into these brackets, and that's how our radio, obviously in addition to the plastic clips, this is how our new radio is going to bolt to your dash. And these are security Torx. These are not just any kind of bolt or screw. It has a security Torx head on it. We also include the tool for you. All right, so let's move right along here. We have an amplified AM/FM antenna adapter. All you have to do is connect this blue wire to the orange wire coming off the main harness labeled AMP-N. I'm going to show you that when I show you the main harness. And the only thing this cable is going to do, one side goes to your factory AM/FM antenna plug that you disconnect from the back of your screen, and this is going to go into the back of our radio, straight into the antenna input plug. GPS antenna, yes, you have to use it. We recommend that you install this. There's a couple locations behind the factory screen that you'll be able to use. This is important if you're using Google Maps, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, you're using weather applications and you want them to track you. You're going to want to use the GPS antenna. We also have Wi-Fi antenna. Apple CarPlay needs Wi-Fi antenna. It's labeled Wi-Fi, and this is the one with the coax light connector. And it really doesn't matter where you mount this one because it just needs to have signal to your phone if you're doing Wi-Fi hotspot. It doesn't need anything special. This is all you need. Now, we also have these 4G LTE antennas. These two antennas are very important if you plan on getting a data plan on a SIM card so that your new radio is always connected to a cellular network. The beauty about that is you're unlocking an entire whole new world of features and functions because now your radio is connected to a network, which means Netflix, YouTube, Google, all these internet-based applications could be downloaded directly onto the radio and not rely on your phone to be able to work. But you need to plug in these two antennas. These two antennas aren't necessarily left or right, one or two. It doesn't matter which one you plug in where. There's two mates to these connectors on the back of the radio. Just make sure that you plug them in, and you don't have to be too picky about mounting these. You could literally just shove these into your dash and you're going to have no problem. The 4G LTE network will definitely reach them. Guys, I hope you've been paying attention because that was a lot of info. What I'm going to do next is we're going to go over the main harness. So stay tuned. Okay, so moving down to the main harness, you're going to see me refer back to the backup camera retention module, the CAN bus interface. We won't be referring to the antennas anymore. We won't be referring to these mounting brackets anymore. We are going to be introducing this tiny little guy here. We're going to explain to you guys what he does and what the function of that module is. But let me put these harnesses down here somewhere just so that we can start going over some of these other harnesses. We're also going to refer to the camera harness. We are going to be referring to the antenna adapter. We're also going to be referring to the chime speaker, only because these harnesses will also connect to the main harness. And I'm telling you, there is a lot going on this main harness. And I was thinking to myself, how am I going to explain all of these connections and not lose you and not, leave you basically confused? So guess what, you guys? I used the packaging to do this. This is how we're going to be going over the main harness. And what I'm going to do is we're going to zoom in a little bit just so that you can get an idea of what is really going on here. So this way it is clear to you what this main harness is doing. So I literally took the time to zip tie every single one of these connectors down to be able to show them to you so that you get familiar with what you have to do. So let's get started. All right, so to make things easy, we're gonna go clockwise. We're gonna start at 12 o'clock and we're gonna go clockwise, and we're gonna go over every single one of these connections and what other accessories will connect to this particular harness. and what you really need out of it to be able to make it work right out of the box into your Jeep. So starting with these wires over here, you're going to notice that they're labeled SWC1, SWC2. Really, guys, you're not going to make use out of these wires. I mean, they're there just in case some really creative people want to start making these radios do things they really weren't meant to do, but they're there. The only one that you will use is the one that's labeled amp EN. It is a orange wire. What that wire is going to do, as I mentioned to you earlier, the AM/FM antenna adapter happens to have a blue wire on it. This blue wire is going to connect to that wire labeled amp EN. And all that wire is doing is it's supplying power to this particular circuit so that it's like an AM/FM signal booster. It's an AM/FM. This is an amplified antenna adapter. That's a short description to this. It's an amplified antenna adapter, and it needs power in order to turn on the built-in amp. So to turn it on, you just got to hook it up to the orange wire. This is the same remote turn-on wire that you would use if you were installing aftermarket amplifiers. Okay, so now that we've gone over this harness, we're going to put an X here just so that I know that we've talked about it. Next, we have the main power speaker connector to the radio. We are going to be connecting all of these connections into the back of the radio so you know where they go. But this is the main power speaker plug to the radio. Now, this guy here has a label. It says to EV box. The plug labeled to EV box is for this little guy that we talked about earlier. This particular module is the one that is in charge of the off-road pages. This guy is the one that is going to give your new radio the ability to read the off-road pages. So if you care about maintaining off-road pages on the new radio, you're gonna wanna get the EV module. If you don't care, you don't have to get it. You also don't have to do anything with this plug. Now, if you happen to have a Wrangler 4xE, if you want to see power flow, this is the module for you. So whether you want to maintain off-road pages and you want to be able to see information from the off-road page gauges, or if you want to maintain function of the power flow information on your 4xE model, this is the module for you. Moving right along, this particular plug is a white connector and it is labeled to radio. There's a plug on the side of the back of the radio. That's the one plug that's in charge of making all the hard buttons on the face of the radio work. So if you installed this, you plug it in, you push it in, and you find out that the hard buttons on the radio don't work, you probably didn't plug that in. Got it? Let's move right along here. This connector here has a label that says multicam power. This is what you're going to use if you're going to want to add more than the included 3 camera inputs. You have built-in 3 camera inputs if you want more than 3. If you want automatic left and right turn signal cameras like blind spot detection cameras, you're going to want to get the multicam interface. It's going to give you 6 additional cameras. It's going to give you 6 cameras in addition to your factory backup camera. That's the plug that you're going to need. All right. So moving right along, this square plug, it's labeled to climate. There is a plug that you're going to disconnect from the factory panel that is designed to control your factory HVAC system. This is your plug for you. If you pulled out your factory controls, you put in the new radio, HVAC doesn't work at all, then guess what? You don't have your HVAC controls plugged in. This here says audio input. So audio input RCAs, these are the ones that are designed to maintain function of the factory auxiliary audio input that you have in your USB hub right there where your switches are. So what's going to happen here is remember, we talked about auxiliary audio input harness, the gray plug. This gray plug has your AV in. All you have to do is take those two connectors, plug them into here. Remember, the angle in the vehicle is different, so it's going to be harder to show you this. So this right here will maintain function of the factory USB input that's on your USB hub on your dash. And this basically goes into the back of the radio along with the other connector that goes into the back of the radio. So that's what that is. There is another set of RCAs. They're labeled CD. There are no factory CD players in these Jeeps, so you're not making use out of these at all. All right. So now let's move along here. Let's go. We've already gone over these RCAs, these RCAs. All right. So now we're going to go over this one right here. This is your main power speaker connector. This is the one that you disconnected from the back of your screen, plugs in here, and latches in place. Now, moving right along, we have this small connector right over here. It's labeled speaker output. This is where the chime speaker is going to connect. That's all you're going to do. This chime speaker is going to plug in here, and that's all you're doing with this. Find a good spot for the speaker inside of the radio cavity. There is no right or wrong place for this. Now, these two, they don't have labels, but this is where your CAN bus module is going to plug in. One of these plugs is smaller than the other. You cannot confuse these two connectors. The CAN bus module has plugs on both sides. So that's where this is going to go. So this is where the CAN bus module plugs in. Moving right along, let me just make sure that we cross the speaker output. CAN bus module plug number 1, CAN bus module plug number 2. Okay, so right over here, we have this one's labeled camera power cable, okay? It says camera power cable. This is the plug that is going to give your factory backup camera retention module power. So that's where that's going to plug into. This is where the red factory backup camera plug from your car is going to plug into. And here you have these two video outputs. One of them is labeled reverse AHD, again for the digital signal. The other one is labeled reverse CVBS. This is for the non-digital cameras. We talk about this during the installation. You're going to see what I mean. But basically, you're not going to use both. You're only going to use one or the other. My personal recommendation is start with AHD. So start with AHD, take your camera cable, okay, and make sure that you plug it in to the factory camera input, tape off the gel tips together, tape the rest of the two RCAs together, and make sure that the only thing you have is your factory camera input plugged into the AHD output. This is going to also go into the back of the radio, just like the auxiliary input cable is going to go into the back of the radio. So that's what this is right here. This is going to power your factory backup camera retention module. And guys, that is the main harness. Hopefully my little invention here helped you. I feel like I'm presenting a science project back in school again. But hey, anything to help you guys, right? And I'm sorry, I actually just saw something that I didn't go over. So let me cross this out and let me cross this out, okay? This is very important. You see these two plugs right over here, okay? They are the same plugs. Right in the middle is a male connector. So this is a male plug. These are two female connectors. This is the speaker level output out of our radio into your speakers in the car. Now, you're not going to use both. You're going to use one or the other. These are labeled with factory amp, without factory amp. So make sure that you know whether your vehicle is factory amplified or not. What I would recommend is when you pull this harness out, make sure that the first thing you do is plug it into the corresponding connector. With factory amplified, without factory amplified. There is another blue wire here that says aux detect. You're not going to use. Make sure you tape it up, tape it onto the main harness so it's not in the way. And guys, that is it for the main harness. what I'm gonna do next is we're gonna talk about a multi-channel camera interface. Remember, we talked about the EV module. If you want to maintain function of the off-road pages, make sure you know to get this. This is sold separately. So now, let's talk about the multi-channel camera interface module. I'm gonna bring it in here and I'm gonna show you what it consists of, and then I'm gonna show you how it integrates into this harness. It's very easy. All right, here it is. So this is your multi-channel camera interface. There are two connectors that go into this box, and there's really not a whole lot, to the box. It's just the two plugs. So you're gonna receive in the box this main harness and this module here. And what I've done is I've zip tied things together just to kind of be able to give you a better perspective. So these two plugs, obviously, like I mentioned to you, they're gonna plug directly into the module. Coming out of the module, you're gonna have your 6-channel camera inputs. So there goes the two plugs into the module, and coming out of the module, you have your 6-channel camera inputs. They're labeled right camera input, left camera input. This is labeled front camera input. This is labeled chassis camera input. This is just so you know. You can mount the cameras anywhere, but we label them for you just so when you mount cameras and you run it up, you can plug it in and know which camera you're accessing. So chassis camera input, we have cargo camera input, trailer input. This is a total of 6 additional camera inputs. As I mentioned to you before, the left and right cameras can be automatically triggered by your turn signals. You don't have to run additional wires to the module itself. It's gonna read through the CAN bus module that your vehicle has the left or the right turn camera enabled, and it'll bring up the input accordingly. So that's the camera inputs that are coming off this harness. You will see some wires that are labeled triggers, like left channel trigger, right camera trigger. What else? You'll see here rear camera trigger. You're not gonna need these triggers. The system does it automatically. This is if you want to use this module as a standalone in a different application that has nothing to do with this particular radio. So we're gonna move right along here. So there is this plug. This is the plug that is labeled multi-camera cable. This is the one that's gonna plug in to the multi-cam plug of the main harness. Remember that in here, there is one labeled multicam power. So guess what? This is where this connector is gonna plug in. So this is how the multi-channel camera interface is going to connect to the main harness. That's how it knows to trigger your left and right inputs. Now, in addition to integrating to this, these two yellow RCAs is your factory rear camera in to the module and back out to the radio. So the way this is gonna look is like this, and it could get a little messy, but follow me here. So we've got the power plug plugged in. We have these two male, female RCA connectors. So one of them obviously will say rear camera input. Remember the multi-camera interface module, AHD, that was going to get connected to our camera cable? Well, it's not gonna get connected to that camera cable just yet. It's gonna go, the AHD is gonna go to the rear camera input of the multi-channel interface module. Okay, the male one is gonna then circle back and connect to the back of the radio. So it's coming, let me show it to you like this. So it's coming out of the module into the multi-channel camera interface module, out of here, and into the radio. You still have your other two inputs on the back of the radio that can manually get accessed, and you now have 6 additional inputs for your new screen. Now, we've gone over, okay, we went over your 6 camera inputs, the wires that you're not going to use. We went over the 2 male-female RCAs. We went over the camera power plug. What we haven't gone over is this USB connector. We talked about a white connector and we talked about a red connector. Remember, this is us reintroducing these harnesses to you. So the red one was to maintain function of the factory USB, and you have your wired Android Auto connection. That's the red one. The white one has a single USB-A connector. So the USB male connector that's on this multicam interface is gonna go into there. You're gonna mate these two together, okay? And this is gonna go directly into the back of the radio. This is how the module communicates with the functions on the radio. So that's it for all of the harnesses. What we're gonna do next is go over the connections onto the back of the radio. All right, guys, so here's what we're gonna do. I have the radio face down on this table. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over every single one of the connections on the back of the radio, including this cable that's coming out the back. If you notice, it's probably a good 3 feet long, okay? And there's a reason for that. That's because this is where your SIM card with the data plan on it is gonna go. If you're not ready to put one in on the day of the installation, you can route this to the glove box and leave it in an easily accessible location so that you can add your SIM card later. But we'll go over this in a minute, right after we're done with all the other connections. All right, so I have gotten a little closer to the plugs on the back of the radio. And basically, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be describing the plugs again, just so you know exactly what they do one more time. Remember, the goal is for you to do this when you go do it like you've done it 100 times before. So this is important that you get these connections set correctly, okay? So we're gonna start with the plugs on the bottom. What I recommend is plug in your 4G LTE antennas first, because if you don't, you're gonna be struggling to get those in after you have connected the other connectors in there. So we talked about the 2 4G LTE antennas. They don't necessarily have 1, 2 left or right. All you have to do is make sure that they are plugged in. There is a locking tab that's facing, I guess, in any direction, because the plastic on these things basically rotates. On the plug themselves, they're off to the left and they're off to the right. So what I like to do is make sure that they're already there if I'm going to be plugging into the one on the right, and then you can move the connector out of the way to give you room. And now the one on the left, I make sure that it's already facing towards the left. I just want to make sure that I can move these around. So now that we have the 2 purple 4G LTE antennas, next I want to make sure that I get my Wi-Fi antenna connector in there. Now, remember, I'll go with my antennas first, and basically that's how I don't forget things, because I make sure that all of my antennas are plugged in first. So that was 4G LTE, Wi-Fi, and this is your GPS antenna. Remember that we talked about the AM/FM antenna adapter. One side is going to go into the back of, actually this is going to connect to your factory AM/FM antenna. The other end is going to go into the back of our new radio, and this is your amplified antenna remote turn on. So that plug is here off to the side, and that is a right angle, so you could move it around to get it out of the way for you. Now, below the Wi-Fi antenna, you will notice that there is an HDMI connector. That is an HDMI out. It is engraved on the chassis of the radio. This is so you can feed the video signal of this radio, whether it's your USB output, whether it's your YouTube or your Netflix. If you want to feed the video out of this radio into external monitors, that's the device, that's the plug that you would use. So moving right along here. Oh, and if you are looking for HDMI input, we also have that accessory available. I don't have it here, but we do have an HDMI input module available for you in case you want to add a Roku or whatever you want to use it for. But that is the output. The input module is sold separately. So now let's go over this grid of connectors. Bottom left is going to be your yellow or off-white, not your white one. Please make sure you don't get these two mixed up. A lot of people do. Even though they are keyed differently, you could plug them into the wrong connector if you apply enough force. So bottom left, based on our angle, it is our RCA preamp outputs and the microphone input. Okay, so that's that one. Right next to that is our white plug that has the USB input, whether you're using it for a thumb drive or you're using it to plug in the multi-channel camera interface module. It's the white one. The one immediately right next to the white one is going to stay blank. And then the end corner on that one is going to take your auxiliary AV inputs. That's the gray one. So now we're going to go over the top row of connectors. Top left is the only big plug. You can't get that wrong. That's the black connector that has your 3-channel camera inputs. So this is where that's going to go. Right next to that is the small connector out of all of them. That is your Toslink fiber optic out. Now guys, even if you're not going to be adding a Toslink, DSP amplified system, don't leave this out. Leave it in there. Plug it in, even if you're not going to use it. Still plug it in. Don't leave anything out. And that's where the Toslink SPDIF audio output goes in. Right next to that is your Cyan connector, which has your additional power, ground, and ignition outputs. To the far end, it's the red one. This is the one that has your factory USB charge retention function and your hardwired Android Auto. You can also use this for thumb drive or portable hard drives. It's that one right there. So you could see how quickly the plugs on the back of the radio can get very messy just by looking at what you're doing right now. Now, you'll notice this plug. On the main harness where we saw it early, we talked about a plug that's labeled to radio. That connector is going to go into here. That's what's going to keep your factory hard buttons, the hard buttons on the screen, functional. And this main connector is the one that's going to go right in there. So that's as far as how these harnesses are going to plug into the back of the radio. Again, it's not going to be this clear once we get into the car. Just because camera angles, it's harder to show you in the car. It's easier for us to have it all laid out over here. So I hope this helps. I hope you're taking note. Let's make sure that you guys understand this. Again, the goal is for you to see everything as it's done. We're not trying to leave anything out. Take advantage of it. We'll be right back, and we're going to go over the SIM card function and how to load it in there. But first, I'm going to take all these plugs out. Okay, cool. So hopefully you've been paying attention all along, and you now know how all of these harnesses are going to connect. We're all going to mention this later, but if you notice, the orange plastic clips are already there. You don't have to remove them from the back of the factory panel. We include those in there for you. Trust me, it could be painful if you're into the install and then you come to find out that, oh, you forgot to, swap out the clips, and now you've got this radio with all these connectors, and that you have to let go because you have to get the clips. Anyways, we include those in here for you. You don't have to worry about that. But we're here to talk about the SIM card function. Please, guys, pay very close attention because it's easy to get this wrong. And what I mean by it's easy to get it wrong is you're going to go walk into a store, a T-Mobile or Verizon or AT&T store, and the first thing that they're going to do is ask you for the IMEI number that's built into the radio. It's there. You could give it to them. The problem is, because these devices are known as unauthorized in the cellular world, you're going to have a hard time being able to get a SIM card that works with these radios. All of these different service providers, basically the customer service reps, they have an arsenal of data plans, whether you're activating a tablet, a cellular phone, a mobile Wi-Fi hotspot device. They have different data plans to choose from to help you activate your device accordingly. Well, when you give them the IMEI number to one of these devices and they run it, it doesn't pop up. They don't know what kind of data plan to offer you. So what happens? You struggle. You say, well, it's a bring your own device. It's an unlocked device. It's a tablet plan. They are listening to you. So they'll end up giving you a SIM card that is activated under a tablet plan. You go put it into your radio. It may work. It may not work. If it doesn't work, it's because they didn't put it under the right data plan. If it does work, it's probably going to stop working within a day, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks. The service provider towers their system picks up on the IMEI number and says, wait, this device doesn't belong on this data plan, and it'll kick it out. And you get into this vicious cycle of, yes, my SIM card is activated. No, it's not working with my radio. So it becomes this huge ordeal. Well, just to kind of let you know, we have already solved that problem. We have contacted an IT professional who has facilitated us T-Mobile SIM cards. You can use Verizon in a very similar concept. We have a contact at Verizon, but the Verizon provider offers a very limited data plan that only offers 10 gigs. Yes, did say it's unlimited, but the problem is after 10 gigs, it goes into slow mode. So that's Verizon. Verizon offers a data plan, but it's limited to 10 gigs, and then it goes into slow mode. Now, the T-Mobile data plan is completely unlimited. It has no data caps. Not only that, it'll have a Wi-Fi hotspot tethering rider or function built into the data plan, which allows this radio to tether Wi-Fi hotspot to other devices in the vehicle. That's the T-Mobile data plan. That's how unlimited this data plan is. Now, AT&T is not an option. AT&T doesn't provide service for 4G LTE networks. They only service 5G devices. They may still provide 4G LTE in certain areas, but it'll be very spotty. We don't recommend AT&T. Now, any one of these data plans, whether you already have Verizon, whether you already have T-Mobile, whether you have Verizon and you get the T-Mobile SIM card, or you've got T-Mobile and you get the Verizon SIM card, you cannot combine these data plans. If you wanted to get them billed on the same date, you cannot do that. Contact us. We'll get you connected with the rep who's going to help you set up the account. Once the account is set up, we will mail you out a SIM card at no extra cost. Cool? Nice. All right, now let's get started with how to install one of these into the SIM card carrier. All right, so real up close and personal, you're going to see that the SIM card carrier has a flap on it. It says there's got a right arrow and it says push. So what you're going to do is you're going to, I'm pushing it from this end. I'm just grabbing it from here so I can use my thumb to slide the flap over to the right. So watch this. Boom, it's off to the right. And then I'm going to use my index finger to lift it up and expose the SIM card holder. Once I have the SIM card holder exposed, you'll see that little metal or little tin flap there. That can slide up or it can slide down. It slides up to lock it slides down to unlock. Let me see if it's locked by pushing it down. I will unlock it. There you go. And with my fingernail, I'm going to lift it open. Be very careful with this because the legs that hold this thing in place, like I can grab this thing and just rip it out, and the holder is completely done. So once that's open, you're going to notice that there's 4 corners. There's a corner here, corner here, corner here, and there's a corner up here. There is a little notch in the upper left hand corner. Make sure that you insert your SIM card accordingly. These are the contacts on the SIM card. If you were using the big SIM card, notice how the notch is right here. So that SIM card would drop in there like this. There's 3 sizes. There's the large SIM card. There's the medium SIM card. So this would be the large frame. This is the large frame for that SIM card. We're not using the large frame, so we're just going to leave it in there. That's why we popped out the medium frame. You can see it because everything that you see, the black frame that you see around this SIM card, that's the medium frame. You can take that frame out and turn this large medium SIM card into a small SIM card. We're not going to do that because we need the medium frame. You can see it around the SIM card. So that's going to drop in there with the contacts facing down, just like this. Okay. You see the notch in the upper left hand corner, right? The other corners are nicely squared, rounded, but it's squared. So I'm going to hold it in place and make sure that with my finger, it's in the frame. I'm going to use the flap, bring it down. I'm going to push it down with my thumb and I'm going to slide it up. Okay? So then you just go boom, it slides up. Now that SIM card is in place. And then all you have to do is close this back down and slide it back to the left. Just like that. Now your SIM card is in place. Once you have inserted the SIM card, just go onto the radio, go to settings, select the option save and reboot, which is directly below the word system. We'll show you that as soon as we get it installed. All right, guys, so we're going to show you what this screen looks like. We're going to go over some of the hard buttons that are on the face of the radio. So let me know if you're ready for this new introduction of this beautiful 13-inch UHD display for your Jeep JL and JT. I apologize for the little bit of light glare. I tried to get rid of it, but we're gonna go ahead and run with it. And we'll go over the specific features and functions once we have it installed in the vehicle and stuff like that. But right off the bat, we're gonna have a volume knob. We also have a mute function right over here. We do have temp up, temp down controls. This will work even if you have auto, meaning dual zone AC temperature controls. We have fan speed up, fan speed down. Over to the right, we have track up, track down, tune up, tune down. Frequency up, frequency down. Yes, your steering wheel controls, track up and down will still work. Yes, your volume up and down buttons on the steering wheel will still work. We have a source button here. Yes, the source button on the back of your steering wheel will still work. We have your traction control function off and on. We have your hill descent assist function here. We have your hazards button and your parking sensors off and on. And of course, we have this beautiful 13-inch screen. You might see a few scratches on it, but that's simply because it has a temporary plastic screen protector on it. And whenever you slide your fingers on it, it begins to create scratches. That's temporary. It's not there to stay forever. Please do ask us because we do have a 13-inch tampered glass screen protector that does help with polarized sunglasses and prescription lenses. So you want to make sure you ask us about that. We will leave a link to it in our description so you get an idea. Just between you and me, ask me how to get one of those complimentary. We can discuss those details. But either way, we do have limited quantities that we can send out complimentary. But let us know that you're interested in the tempered glass screen protector. These are the screw holes that are gonna take the screws that are gonna mount to the brackets. These little basically indentations here on the right and on the left is where your vents, driver's side vent and passenger side vent, that's where that is. But again, guys, this hole here is where your push to start or your ignition switch on and off will get reinstalled. You're basically taking off 3 screws from the factory panel that has your push to start button. You're taking those 3 screws out. You're grabbing that whole assembly and you're gonna be reinserting it, putting it here, and the same 3 screws that are holding it in place on your factory panel are gonna be used to hold it into this panel here. So that's what that is. Guys, other than that, what do you say we get on with the installation of this beautiful radio? So in regards to dash disassembly, keep in mind that you don't need a lot of tools. And my favorite part about this installation is everything gets done here. You don't have to take any steering wheel control column covers off. You don't need to go behind a glove box to reach in for any kind of factory backup camera signal. So that's my favorite part. It all gets done here and you don't need a lot of tools. Basically, you're gonna need a simple panel pop tool to remove the trim panel around the screen. And then you're gonna need basically your hands to be able to remove this entire AC climate control panel. And once that's out, all you really need is a number 7 socket to be able to remove the 4 screws that are holding the screen in place. So let's get started by removing this panel here that has all of your AC climate controls. Make sure you disconnect everything because you're also going to need to remove the push to start button from this particular panel, and it's going to get reinstalled on the new assembly. But for now, let's just unplug it. You're going to need the AC climate control plug. Keep that in mind. We'll put this off to the side for now. Next, let's remove this trim by removing the 2 number 7 screws. Keep in mind that these 2 number 7 screws also have Phillip heads on them. Just reach underneath, pull up, reach underneath, and pull out, just like that. Now let's get the screen out. And this is where all of your main connections are going to be found. This is your power speaker connector. The white one is your AM/FM antenna plug. This blue one happens to be, I believe, either satellite radio antenna or GPS antenna. And then down at the bottom here is your factory USB connector. Let's make sure you get those unplugged. To remove this one, unlatch it here. And lift up. This red one happens to be your factory backup camera signal. Even though the factory backup camera is a very low image resolution, we still provide the module to be able to maintain function of it. Take that out. Let's go over some of these harnesses again. But before we get into that, let me show you the cool part about the new solution is you don't have to remove these orange plastic clips to transfer them over to the new panel. The new radio comes with those pre-installed from factory. So it's a great advantage. You're saving the hassle of having to transfer those over. You can just put away all of your factory components as they are without having to remove those. So once again, we have here, this is the main power speaker connector of the entire setup. This red plug happens to be your factory backup camera signal. It's gonna plug into our camera retention module. It has the same matching colored plug. This happens to be the factory GPS antenna. And this here is your AM/FM antenna connection. And this is your factory USB hub connector. We have a cable that's gonna plug into here, but remember, from now on, the USB hub is only going to provide you with a charging function. A lot of these hubs will eliminate the ability for data to transfer over, or if anything, it'll make that data transfer slow, or sometimes it makes it very spotty. So if you're experiencing that, make sure you use the USB input cables that we include with our kit. Now, let's also talk about the screws that we removed from the factory screen. You are going to use them because this is where we're going to be using these mounting brackets. Now, my favorite part about this solution is that our system gets bolted onto your dash. Unlike a lot of the other solutions in the market where what you're doing is you're snapping it into place and plastic clips are the only thing that's holding your new screen in your dash. This is definitely a game changer. Let me show you how they go. The right side is labeled with an R, and this wing that's going up there is what's gonna go here on the right side. Now the left side is labeled, has an L right over here. That's gonna mount right over here on this side. Let's put them on. Now, once the brackets have been mounted, the very next step is to start preparing to mount all 4 of your antennas. You have 2 4G LTE antennas. You also have the GPS antenna, and then you have your Wi-Fi antenna. Last but not least, the 5th one is your AM/FM antenna. We're gonna work and install this one after we've mounted all of the other 4 antennas. But just to give you an idea, one of the things that I like to do is I like to grab and prep the surface. This is a Lysol or a Clorox wipe, whatever you want to use. Anything that's got alcohol in it, you want to be able to use it and wipe the surface down because this is going to promote adhesion. And so there's plenty of area back here. You can use the air ducts that are coming here, the one on the right and the one on the left, for your Wi-Fi antennas. These surfaces are nice and flat. The 4G LTE antennas don't necessarily need to be mounted. Remember, it's a cellular signal, so that signal is going to come through no matter what. Now, your GPS antenna, you do want to find a spot where it's going to sit flat. It doesn't have to be routed to the outside of the dash and disturb the aesthetics of your Jeep. You can find a flat surface right behind this air duct right over here. Just make sure that you wipe the surface clean, and so that you're not mounting it on a wet surface. Grab a dry rag and dry the areas that you've cleaned with a wet wipe. So let's get the antennas mounted and I'll show you what to do with the excess cables. So once the antennas have been mounted, all of the excess cable, I like to use a zip tie, and I want to find a spot to tuck all of this cable in, only because ideally I want to be able to make sure that things back here can stay as organized as possible, only because Remember, you have very limited amount of space back here, and you don't want to keep all the different cables in the way. So one of the things that I do is, again, I grab all of the excess cable, and what I'm doing here is I'm tucking it all underneath the actual air duct that's behind this vent right here. And I've used electrical tape to put all of my antennas together. This is going to make it very easy when it comes to plugging them into the new radio and being able to put them in place. Remember, throughout all this, I still haven't touched anything in regards to the factory connections. Currently, what I'm doing is I'm preparing all the area to make sure that the antennas, what I'm going to show you next is the microphone and the AM/FM antenna are all in place to be able to get ready for the radio to come in here, because this main harness here, guys, like I told you earlier, this harness does a lot. It has a lot of connections, and you want to make sure that none of these connectors get stressed in the process of you putting your new radio in. So now what we're going to do is, this is your AM/FM antenna adapter. If you notice, it has a blue wire attached to it. What this is doing is it's providing a turn-on function to the built-in AM/FM antenna amplifier that's on this adapter. All you're going to do is connect it to the white connector here. Now the other end is going to go into the back of the new radio. But this particular blue wire is going to connect to the remote turn-on output of the new radio. This is going to improve upon your AM/FM antenna reception. And you could do this one of two ways. You can strip the wire on this particular cable here. You could strip the wire, and what you'll do is the main harness has an orange wire labeled AMP-EN. All you have to do is put these wires together. You can strip both wires, you can twist the wires and electric tape them, or you can use a butt connector and crimp this wire with your crimper, right, to give it a bit of a more secured connection. Neither one is wrong, because the fact is once this is in place, this connection is not going to get stressed, and this is not a high voltage output. So all you want to do is just make sure that this orange wire is connected to the blue wire of the antenna adapter. Make sure it's the one that's labeled AMP-EN. So now when it comes to installing the microphone, you have enough cable to go from the A pillar where it meets with the windshield all the way down. There's a panel here that simply pops out, and then the wire can fish itself down through the back of the steering wheel column and up to the radio cavity. One of the things that I like to do is you want to make sure that you don't disassemble this entire A pillar. Simply pop this plastic panel out, and that's going to give you access to the back of the dashboard here so that the cable can fish its way down. Now, you want to be able to pull the plastic away from the body of the vehicle as much as possible, and you kind of want to tuck yourself in there without necessarily disassembling all these pieces. A lot of things about these Jeeps is once they come off, they're not that easy to put back in, or if they do go back in, they're not as tight as they were before you remove them. So it's very simple to just tuck yourself in here. That's one of the cool things about these Jeeps is that the wiring can hide itself in there very nicely, and it really goes unseen without having to do too much. It's not like, you know, a big pickup truck where the panels are a little tighter and things do need to be disassembled completely to be able to get a clean install. So I'm basically using my nylon panel removal tool just to kind of lift panels up off the body to be able to tuck in my microphone cable. And all I'm going to do is just going to swing my way around here, and eventually I will find myself all the way over here to where the cable can go for underneath this. You see how you could just lift it up out of the way, and you can tuck your wire in there and mount your microphone here. So everything we've been doing so far is just we've been preparing all of our antennas, microphone, so that we can get the main harness in place. So now that I have all of my antennas, the microphone connection here, I also have the AM/FM antenna connection. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to start to integrate the new harness into the vehicle harness. So that way I can start preparing for the radio to now come into place. So what I'm going to do first though is I don't have the EV module connected to this particular harness. This is not one that it's a 4xE. However, if you want to maintain function as previously explained of the off-road pages, you're going to want the EV module, and that's going to plug into the label, into the plug that we talked about earlier. It is labeled to EV box. That's where it is going to go. As you saw, the EV module in the previous, in the beginning of the video, you saw the EV box plugs into here, and that's going to give you your off-road pages on the new screen. So what I'm going to do next though is I am going to connect the power antenna here. And I'm just going to twist it together like this just to create a sturdier connection. It'll relieve some stress from this connection. Here's some electric tape. And then that's going to relieve some stress from the main connector here. Okay. Remember, there is no wrong way to do this. The only wrong way to do it would be to not connect it or to leave the wires exposed. You don't want to do that. So we have that in place. We're going to now grab the backup camera retention module, which is this one right over here. And it's going to ultimately plug into here, but I'm going to start with plugging it into the main harness. This harness we talked about earlier has two video outputs, a CVBS, which is a non-HD signal, and it has an AHD signal, which is a high def signal. You'll notice that before we snap and bolt the radio in place, we're going to connect the AHD signal first. We're going to try our backup camera. If that doesn't work, then we'll go with the CVBS. But depending upon whether you have CVBS or AHD, you're going to need to either leave these pink wires disconnected, or you're going to strip them, connect them together, tape them so that you can make use of the CVBS output. That's going to go here. And this is our climate control plug, which is going to go directly to the AC control plug that we disconnected from the back of that panel. This happens to be a non-factory amplified system. So out of the two connectors, I am connected to the without factory amp harness. And I went ahead and zip tied all of my loose connections just so that when I'm putting it in, they're not dangling off to the side or getting kinked. I want to eliminate that as much as possible. The other connection that I need to make sure we have here is the chime speaker. This one also has double side tape. You can peel it off, and that one can go far back up against this air duct right over here. And then I'm going to leave that connection ready to go. Now I'm going to grab our CAN bus module. CAN bus module goes right into here, and there's really no way to get these wrong because one of them is bigger than the other. That one won't physically connect. This one will. And that's both sides of the CAN bus module. All right, this happens to be multicam camera module. So if you want to add more than the 3 inputs that we have, there is a multi-camera interface module that'll give you up to 6 cameras. This module is, remember, triggered left and right, so that's what that's for. And then this is our EV box, which we're not going to use. This goes to the back of the radio. So I think we're ready to go. The only other thing to do is our chime speaker plug is labeled speaker output. Let's make sure that's in. And then this is going to be our main connector right over here. Just make sure you slide that down, and then you'll know it's in place because this is going to want to slide itself down. So lock it in place, give it a little bit of a tug and squeeze it together just to make sure that these connections are nice and solid. The only other connections that we want to make sure that we do is the USB retention harness, which is the one that has this red plug. Okay, so this one we talked about earlier is the one that has 2 connectors, a short USB mini and a long USB-A with the phone label phone link. And so that one, along with this white one, have the extra length on these cables just because these are going to go into the back of the new radio. This goes to the factory USB connection harness, which happens to be this gray one right over here. And these other 2 are going to get routed to the glove box along with the SIM card cable. The SIM card holder cable is long enough to go there. That way you don't have to worry about having to pull the radio out if you didn't install a SIM card during the installation process and you're going to be adding a SIM card later. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to start putting all of my smaller connectors together, getting them ready for the new radio. And so you saw earlier how these connectors are going to plug into the back of the radio. It's difficult to show you here. That's why we showed them earlier, so you could see how these are going to connect into the grid, especially these 2, because these 2 are very easily mistaken and you can plug them into the wrong slot. And if you do, chances are the radio will stay on when you turn the key off. But that's another story. Just make sure that you get these connectors done correctly. Just while they're loose, because it's going to be harder once they're all kind of bundled together. This is the backup camera retention module. It has UHD CVBS out. You're going to only use one of these 3 video inputs. One of them is labeled factory cam in, front, and right. This is if you're not adding any additional cameras other than the factory backup camera. So we're using UHD out in the factory cam in. I'm going to tape this, and I'm also going to tape these wires together because there is voltage coming out of these wires. I'm going to tape them up. Yes, they have the gel tips, but in the process of putting things into place, I want to make sure that these gel tips don't fall out and create any future problems. So make sure you take that preventive measure, put some tape on it, so that way things can go a little smoother. Okay guys, so here we are. Yes, it's messy. Yes, it looks messy, but remember the idea here is you want to make sure that you tuck things in as you're bringing in the new radio. So I already have the 2 USB cables in going down towards the glove box area. You don't even have to drop or remove the glove box. Just open it, reach in there, and fish the wires down. You'll be able to grab them and pull them out. I already have the radio here in place because the SIM card holder is also already down here. And so that's going to stay easily accessible for future reference. Although this particular radio, as you saw earlier, already has an activated SIM card. And you'll see how awesome it is to have that, because again, you are unlocking an entire whole new world of features and functions. But over here, I also have all of my colored connectors in place out of this entire bundle, mainly using the auxiliary input. Remember, we showed you that earlier, how to be able to maintain function of the auxiliary input on your media hub. Although I don't know anybody that still makes use out of that. If it's there and you want to maintain function of it, you can. Just get the audio input left, audio input right, like we showed earlier. Plug it into the gray one to the aux in, and you're good to go. We have our backup camera retention module. I haven't taped that one yet because I want to make sure that it's going to be either AHD or the CVBS. That one's there ready to go. We have our AM/FM antenna adapter, which is already connected to the amp remote turn on. This is just us recapping, by the way, guys. Our CAN bus module is already connected to both sides. We are connected to the main power speaker plug of the car. The only thing that we're not using, that you're not gonna use, is this blue, I believe, GPS antenna. Yeah, because the satellite radio antenna in these cars is yellow. So I believe this is the factory GPS, which we're not gonna make you any use out of, so that can stay in there. Other than that, like I said, the radio is already here. The next thing for me to do is remind you that the microphone is going to connect to the RCA input harness. So the yellow or off-white plug has a black connector labeled microphone, and so you want to make sure that you plug that one in for your microphone to stay functional. I personally like adding a little bit of tape just to make sure that that doesn't come undone. And the way I do it is I start here and I go over, because it's a right angle connector. I go the long way, and then I'd like to kind of flip it over, down. And then what I do is I'll cut it and apply some pressure. So I stretch the tape as I go up. I'm stretching it here, bringing it over and down just to put some pressure. And then what I do, after I do a couple passes, I go around it maybe once or twice, just to kind of keep that tape in place. So this is how I like to make sure that the microphone connection is nice and secured. Other than that, our antennas are ready to go. All of our connectors are ready to go into the back of the radio. The main power plug is ready to go into the radio. This is the one that's going to plug into the back of the radio, as we showed you earlier. These are the other two connections that we're not going to be using, the EV box and the multi-cam interface. Next thing for me to do is to now start plugging into the back of the radio the way you saw it earlier. Next shot, you'll see the radio in place, and we'll be ready to turn it on for the first time. Just one last thing before we get going on that. Remember that we have to remove the push to start button from the factory panel. So you want to make sure that you use, it's a 5.5 millimeter socket that you're going to use to remove the push to start button. It has one right there. We're going to reuse these screws. So there's 1, 2, and 3. So they're all right there. That's the second one. There's a third one. And so all we're going to do is pull that out. And then we'll show you how that is going to simply face down right in here. Okay, so we have all three, and this is how that's going to end up in place. Okay guys, so as of right now, one of the things that I've done is I've snapped it in place. I haven't added any of the bolts yet, only because I'd like to sort of go over it and make sure that things are working. This is the satisfying part. As you could tell right now, I haven't snapped this side in all the way. The bolts are not in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start ignition for the first time. So it's in the run position. The first time that the radio boots up, it's gonna take its time because it's booting up for the first time. But immediately after that, this should give you a fast boot function, which is one of the really cool things about this new UI and having the updated processors is we can actually give you a fast boot function. The minute you turn on your Jeep, everything about the radio is ready to go. So let's wait for it to boot up here. We're gonna wait for the map to show up, climate controls down here. And one of the things that we wanna make sure we get familiar with is, to begin with, is AC climate controls. So this happens to be a dual temp, dual zone temp control AC panel. You have your fan speed, you have your passenger side temp, and you have your driver side temp. This is known as a dual auto AC climate control panel. So you want to make sure that you tell the radio that it is in a dual zone auto temp control function. And how you're going to do that is you're going to start by going into settings. So the way you get into settings is you press the 4 squares down here, you go into settings. Let me just see, why am I still beeping? Maybe one of the doors is open. Okay, so you're gonna go into settings, you're gonna go into system, first option setting guide, first option car model AC. Notice how this is in the way, just tap it and it'll go away. So we're in a Jeep Wrangler auto AC climate control. This happens to be a 2021, so we're not gonna select max 2022. So our only two options are either manual. If this was a single temp control AC climate panel, then we would have the manual AC climate controls. In this case, since we have the auto function, we're gonna hit auto. Well, it's already on auto, so I'm not gonna mess with it. Let me go ahead and start it. Started the vehicle. That's night mode. Let me go back to day mode. I'm gonna hit the climate button, fan speed up. Okay. Fan speed up. And so now our temp controls down here. Driver side is only adjusting the driver side. You press the sync button. Let me go do that again. Climate, sync, so that the passenger side can also have the same temp. So now with the driver's side temp control, so temperature up, temperature down, fan speed up, fan speed down. Okay, so right now that we're looking at this, I want you to notice how every so often the climate control page sort of drops itself or times out, goes back to my previous screen. Just know that that part of the AC climate control page is user selectable. You can set it so that it stays on longer. You can set it so that it doesn't time out. And the way you do that is you're gonna wanna go into settings. You're gonna go into system, back to general, go into system. All the way at the bottom under factory settings, you're gonna enter the code 1660. You're gonna press OK. And all the way towards the bottom, you're gonna find something that says climate timeout, and it's right over here. Currently it's set to 10 seconds. You can change it from 10, 15, 20, 30 seconds, or you can turn it off so that whenever you are on the climate page, it'll stay there until you decide go back home or go back to any one of the previously selected applications that I had. I love that about this radio. But right now that we have turned it on for the first time, one of the things we need to make sure is that one, our AC climate control functions are working, and we just saw that. I'm gonna hit fan up, and you can see the fan speed inside of the minimized AC climate control page. I'm gonna hit climate, and we're gonna go and adjust temp again. So I'm adjusting the temperature controls there. So temp up, temp down is working 100%. Our mode functions, where we change ventilation, is working 100%. This would be our rear defrost, max defrost up front, max AC, auto AC. The sync button is to synchronize both driver and passenger temps. If the passenger begins to adjust their own temperature setting, the sync button turns off, and now the passenger side has its own temp controls. The driver's side has its own temp controls. If we want them both to now be synchronized, we press the sync button. They're gonna both synchronize with the driver's side temp. So far, we also have a power button right up here. That's gonna turn off the AC climate controls completely. You can turn them back on by either pressing your plus button, it'll go back to the previous setting, or you can go down all the way to 1. If you want it off, you press the power button. When you turn it back on, it's gonna go back to fan speed number 1. So one other thing to keep in mind is that if your Jeep happens to be factory equipped with heated and cooled seats, as well as a heated steering wheel, there is an option for you to enable that. All you have to do is, sorry, I was watching YouTube videos, picture in picture, running CarPlay. So all you really want to do is you want to go into settings. Let me just make this a little brighter for you. We're gonna go into settings, in the system, here in setting guide, under seat and steering wheel. This is where you want to turn on heated steering wheel, heated seats, cooled seats. If your vehicle was equipped with them, hit the down arrow. Here, right below the word system, you're going to see in small font, save and reboot. Go ahead and touch that. The system's going to ask you if you want to reboot now. Press OK. The radio is going to turn off, turn back on. So once the radio reboots, in your climate page, you're going to be able to find your heated and cooled seats buttons. We'll be right back and I'll show you where that is. So next, one of the crucial features and functions, obviously, that we want to test for our volume control on the steering wheel controls. So if I press volume up, that's already working, volume down. And then what I normally do to test both audio and AM/FM reception, as well as the track up and down button on the back of the left side of the steering wheel, is I could go to the home screen. I press the applications page here, open that up, open up radio, and here I should hear some static, which I'm already hearing. I'm going to lower the volume down a little bit by pressing volume down here. I can press volume down on the back of the steering wheel. I can drop down from the top, and I can adjust volume here as well. So many different ways to control any one given function. I love that about this radio. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to swipe up from the middle of the screen. It's going to expose my presets. If I press up and down on the track up and down button on the steering wheel, I should be able to go track up. So that's going up. So preset up is working, and I'm continuously going preset up. Now I'm going to go preset down. It should go from that one to this one. And you can see, because it goes from being black to being blue, so track up and down is working. So far we're doing great. In the middle of the volume up and down, there is a source button. So this happens to be, I pressed the source button, so it went from AM/FM to USB input. This happens to be, I believe, an audio of a Linkin Park concert. I guess they were in Texas. And so this happens to be, I believe, the audio. And that happens to be plugged in right over here. So let me fast forward that. Or I can use my knob. Love these knobs, guys. Very tactile, very responsive. I mean, track up on my knob here. I'm gonna go one click clockwise, and that went to the other concert, Linkin Park. I think I have both audio and video on that USB drive. So let me change this to the next one. I think it's just going backwards on them. Let me see, USB storage. Okay, so it's just that one. It is just that one. So this happens to be my audio player. If I press the source button in the middle of the volume up and down button again, it now went to my video player. I happen to have videos on that same USB, so then this is the list of videos that are on this USB. So I'm going through my sources, pressing the middle button here. I mean, come on guys, look at all these functions that I now have in my car. And this is daytime. If I go and turn on my lights and go to night mode, I mean, everything goes black. This is a phenomenal screen. So I went back to day mode, just so you guys can see the rest of the buttons a little better and not have the screen reflect so much. So right now we're just going through steering wheel controls and through the different audio sources. I could go to the next one here, one click clockwise, and this happens to be I happen to have all the different Super Bowl halftime shows on a USB drive, and I happen to plug it in. But that's not even it, you guys. We're barely getting started. So pressing the source button in the middle of the volume is like pressing the media button here. Now I'm in Bluetooth. I'm now in Bluetooth audio. This is auxiliary audio in, which would be my auxiliary input media hub right over here. And now I'm back on AM FM. So far we have audio, we have steering wheel controls, AC climate controls. Our hazards button is already working, you can hear it. Okay, and then I'm going to try one other thing at this point is my AM FM reception. So the way you can tune is you press and hold the right arrow until it starts to seek. You let go, it'll stop on the next station.
Which is owned by Korean auto giant Hyundai Motor Company, sells for about somehow sabotage.
FM reception is phenomenal. It's catching every station.
Take over.
So that's AM FM reception. The next thing that I really want to test is our backup camera, just to make sure I have the right signal. So I'm putting it into reverse, and we're getting a no signal message here. That's probably because it's not AHD. It might be CVBS. I have to triple check that to find out what's going on. Just to be certain though, I'm here in signal type. It is set to auto, so make sure you are set to auto. And I'm gonna go back into park. I should be able to access the camera functions directly here. And so that's side view, front view, rear view. Okay, so rear view is giving me no signal. I gotta go back in and triple check. Maybe this is not an AHD signal and it probably is a CVBS. Based on how it looked from the factory screen, it looked very hazy. So I believe it is a CVBS video signal, but I'm just gonna pull it out, check those pink wires and go from AHD to CVBS like you guys saw earlier. So let's go do that and I'll be right back. All right guys, I apologize for that. Took the screen out and double checked the connections for the backup camera. It happens to be that CVBS was plugged in, AHD wasn't. So I swapped out those connectors. Remember initially when we first started it for the first time, it took its time to boot up. At this point, the radio has already been installed. It has already booted up. We turned it off. We didn't disconnect power. So right now that I turn it back on, we should be up and running right away, if not almost immediately. So sure enough, there it is. The radio is up and running. And all we got to do now is check our backup camera just to triple check and make sure that we are getting a signal now. There it is. Factory backup camera is fully functional. We also have the trajectory guidelines according to our steering wheel position, which is a very neat feature. If your Jeep came with front and rear sensors, this is where you would see the proximity detection as well as the audible alerts that you get from that. I'm gonna go back to park. It went through reverse, so it went to there. My driver's side door open is already there. It knows that my rear door is open, so let me go close that up. So the rear gate was open. Now everything is closed. So far we have all of our crucial functions: steering wheel controls, climate controls, backup camera, hazards button, temp hard buttons, temp soft buttons. This is just the initial checkup that you want to do. We're going to get into more details. Just stay tuned. All right, so we are a little more zoomed in because I really want to go over the display layout with you guys, just so you understand and get the most out of this screen when it comes to operating it and using it. I think it's important that we do that. So starting at the bottom here, you're going to see that you have obviously your temp controls here on the left, temp controls here on the right. This corresponds to both driver and passenger side climate controls. So one of the things you can do is you can use AC button on, AC button off. This is the first line. The climate button, as you guys already saw in the initial boot up, checkup steps that we did, opens up the climate page. And we've set it so that it doesn't time out. But that's what the bottom row of buttons do, AC on and off. And so moving right up, you have ventilation modes. This is the recirculation button here, which happens to be the same button there. So if you are looking at a different audio source, for example, if you are playing a video, if you are playing a video and you want to control your AC climate controls, but you don't want to interrupt your video playback and do that, you can always just come in here and you can hit the recirculation button. You can change vent modes by pressing the little guy right over here. You can touch the fan speed and that'll open that up. Go back, but you can also change fan speed here, and that's simply gonna show you what fan speed mode you're on. Now this happens to be your front defrost, and so it's gonna go ahead and do that. Let me just lower the fan speed here. So that's the second line of controls. This row here, if you can tell, there's a home button, there's a back button, volume down, mute, volume up. This 4 squares is going to open up your applications page. There's a couple of different ways to open up the applications page. You could be on the home screen and swipe up. You can be on any screen. For example, we could be on radio and press this button, and that's going to open up your applications page. You can also swipe down from the top and press the 4 squares right over here, and it's going to open up your applications page. Up at the top, these 4 buttons, or this button with 4 different shapes on it, is going to also open up the applications page. So that's basically many different ways of controlling any one given function. Similar to volume up and down, right? You've got volume up and down. You have mute right in the middle. You have volume up and down on your knob here. You have volume up and down on the screen right over here. So you have mute there, you have mute here. So if you can mute that, you can mute it here. You can unmute it there. So that's volume up and down. Again, many different ways of controlling any one given function. This button right over here is going to open up every application that you have up and running. Every so often, good practice would be to hit clear all. And so that's basically kind of like turning off all the different running applications on your phone or any other device. So then moving on up to the 2 squares right over here, this is your temp. In order for this to show, you have to be connected to either a cellular network using a data plan on a SIM card like we showed you earlier, and that happens to load onto here. We'll get into that in a second, but just so you know, in order for the weather to follow you, the radio has to be connected to either a Wi-Fi network or it has to be connected to a cellular network. This square here is going to show you what you're playing when it comes to either your audio player or your video player, as well as your AM and FM. So it'll also show what radio station you're on. Moving on up, this is your Google Maps application. It wants me to sign in. I don't have to. I can hit skip right up at the top here, and it's gonna already just say update app, or for right now, use maps on Chrome. Because if I hit update app, it's gonna take me to the Google Play Store. It's gonna want me to log in, and then it's gonna then let me update the Google Maps application. For right now, yep, it says update Google Maps to continue. So then I don't want to update it, so it won't let me. So use Google Maps on Chrome. So what it's going to do if I use Google Maps on Chrome, it's going to open up Google Chrome, which is the internet, and take me then to Google Maps, which is not really what I want to do. So let me just do that, clear all. I'll show you guys how to log into the Play Store in a second, but then moving on up right over here, we're going to talk about this row of buttons right here. So this is quick brightness control. You have 1, 2, 3 different brightness settings: low, medium, high. Brightness could be controlled in many different ways. You can press that. You can swipe down from the top. You can adjust brightness settings right over here. One cool thing is it also has a blackout function. So just like your factory controls had screen off, but the radio and everything was still on, same thing. You can swipe down, hit the blackout button. That's the same thing as screen off. Touch it again so it can turn on. So these are manual brightness controls. Now notice how I have it set to max. Here's where you would set your dimming functions, right? We're used to, you turn your headlights on, the radio goes dark, or it goes into like night mode or something like that. It already does that. Like if I turn on the headlights, it's gonna go into night mode. The buttons light up very nicely. It goes into night mode, but you can also adjust the brightness of the screen when it does that. What you want to do is you want to hit the applications page, go into settings, under under general, you're gonna have dimmer. This is where you tell it, hey, during the day I wanted this bright, and at night I want it this bright. So maximum brightness during the day, minimum dim at night. So press down. So now when I turn on my headlights, it's going to go into dark mode, but it also dims the screen a lot so that it isn't so bright in your face kind of thing, right? One other cool feature that I like is I'm going to turn off the headlights so it goes into day mode. That way you can see this a little better. It has an eye comfort setting. I really love that about this radio. Is you can go into system, under Android settings. You can then come in here in display, and you could go into night light. What this does is it removes that blue tint from the screen, and it gives you like this yellow eye comfort setting so that at night it's much more comfortable to look at. It doesn't have to be this yellow, but you can tell it how much of it you want or how little of it you want. You can set it so that it turns on at night and turns off during the day. So here I can tell it turn it on at night. So right now it's nighttime mode, nighttime, so it's already on. So now everywhere you go at night, it's gonna have this really nice yellow tint to it. It's not gonna be that bright blue light in your face, which is awesome. I'm telling you, when you're driving, this thing is so comfortable to look at. It's unbelievable. But let me turn it off just for now, so that way you guys can see a little more. Android settings, under display, we're gonna turn it inside of night light. I just want to turn it off so that blue tint comes back. All right. So now that we've gone over the entire display, including brightness settings and dimming, let's get into other functions like CarPlay and how to connect your phone to the radio so that Apple CarPlay, and you can see how phenomenal Apple CarPlay looks on a screen this size. All right, so let's go over CarPlay connectivity, but before we do that, we want to make sure that you understand the applications. I know that we talked about brightness settings um, previously, but we're also going to go over these buttons here before we get into that. So navigation up at the top, this is going to open up Google Maps. Currently, it needs to be updated. This is going to open your audio player. This is going to open your phone for phone calls. This is going to open the video player, and then immediately right next to that, it is going to be your applications page. And then that one here is going to be your CarPlay Android Auto application. Now, a lot of people want to know, can you customize this page? Can you change these buttons so that a different applications can be on there? And the answer is no. This particular UI doesn't support home screen customization, but it doesn't matter because you'll see how you're hardly ever gonna be on this screen to begin with, and I'll tell you why. So having said that, let's move on to Apple CarPlay connectivity. Before you go to your CarPlay application, before you connect to Bluetooth, in fact, you want to come here first, and you're going to hit the hexagon. There's an option here that says allow auto boot. If you turn that on, what's going to happen is when you get out, you get back into the car, you turn on the vehicle, radio comes on, your phone is in the car, it'll connect to Bluetooth. The minute it connects to Bluetooth, it's gonna automatically open up this page. Your CarPlay, your Android Auto is gonna automatically connect. If you don't want that, okay, you go into the hexagon and you turn allow auto boot off. So what's gonna happen is you get in the car, radio comes on, your phone's in the car, it'll connect to Bluetooth. CarPlay Android Auto does not open up until you manually launch the CarPlay application. Personally, I thought I liked the fact that CarPlay would automatically open or Android Auto would automatically open, but you know what? Over time, I was like, there's more to this radio than just CarPlay and Android Auto. I don't always want CarPlay Android Auto to automatically launch because I want to do more than just that. I want to go and download YouTube, download Netflix, other applications like Spotify, Pandora, and I want to use all those other applications besides Apple CarPlay, right? So that's kind of where I'm at, but that's just to give you some information about CarPlay Android Auto. You can have it so that it auto connects after the phone has connected to Bluetooth. I'm going to show you how that works. So I'm going to connect an Apple CarPlay phone. This is where you tell the application that you're pairing an Apple device or an Android device for Android Auto. So I have an iPhone. I'm going to be connecting to CarPlay, and the procedure is exactly the same one with CarPlay or Android Auto. So now that I've set it to allow auto connect, now that I've told it it's a CarPlay, I'm going to hit the two squares on the bottom right. I'm going to hit clear all at the top. I'm going to then go to the applications page, and I'm going to open up Bluetooth. In here, I'm going to go to the chain link button up at the top right. I'm going to tell it that I want to pair a new device. I'm going to grab my phone, and I'm going to go into Bluetooth, and I'm going to go search for Bluetooth devices. It already found my phone. I'm going to go ahead and select it. My phone is going to come up, and it's going to ask if I want to pair with this. I'm going to hit pair. It's going to ask me if I want to allow contacts. I'm telling it to allow. You'll see the Bluetooth icon pop up. Apple CarPlay application already opened. Phone is asking me if I want to connect to CarPlay. I hit connect. Now Apple CarPlay is going to go ahead and launch. So guys, this is CarPlay, and it's all in all of its glory. This is how easy it is to pair with it. This is how quickly it opens. Map, this is night mode. That's 3D. This is zoomed out, okay? And this is just to show you guys obviously where we're located. I don't mind. We have nothing to hide, so this is where we are. This is our location. This is how Apple CarPlay works. Obviously, I subscribe to YouTube Premium, so I have YouTube Music on here myself. So I am always, either listening to YouTube Music or YouTube, the application itself.
Report to the dance floor. This is the remix.
Okay, that's YouTube Music. On the bottom left, where you have all of the different buttons right here, that's going to open up all the applications, and this is how you would toggle between the different views. One thing to keep in mind, okay, and I'm going to take advantage of this time to talk about this. If you don't load a SIM card with a data plan and you want to use the Wi-Fi function of the radio to connect to Wi-Fi, we're going to kill two birds with one stone here. We're going to go over Wi-Fi connectivity, how to get internet onto the radio when you don't have a SIM card loaded onto there, and we're going to also go over how CarPlay is affected by you turning on the Wi-Fi function of the radio. And the reason why I say that, it's because if you notice, my phone is connected to CarPlay, right? But if I come in here, all right, I'm connected to CarPlay. Wi-Fi function looks like it's off, but it's really on. But the reason why it looks like it's off, it's because my phone is using its Wi-Fi function to connect to CarPlay. If I tell my phone turn on Wi-Fi because I want to connect to my home Wi-Fi network, look what happens. It tells me that it's going to disconnect from CarPlay. So it's no different on the radio. The minute I come into the radio's setting functions, I go into system, I go into network, and I turn on the Wi-Fi hotspot function of the radio, meaning I'm going to give the radio hotspot from my phone. And the minute I turn that on, look what happens to CarPlay. It has now disconnected. So now we're going to have a battle between Wi-Fi, CarPlay, Wi-Fi, CarPlay. It's either one or the other, but not both. So keep that in mind. If you want to have the best of both worlds, I would recommend that you put a SIM card on this radio. I mean, again, you're going to just enjoy it so much. And I'll show you why in a minute. We'll go over logging into the Google Play Store and updating the different applications, downloading different applications, and how split screen between CarPlay, YouTube videos, CarPlay, USB input videos. I mean, there is so much to do here, guys. This was CarPlay and Android Auto connection. All right, so here we are. Let's talk about downloading applications, logging into the Google Play Store. You have to have a at Gmail account, and that's not that hard to create if you don't already have one. Once you have one, you can go into the Play Store. I have already logged in. Previously, you guys saw how the map application was telling me to update the app, but I wasn't logged into the Play Store, so I have now logged into the Play Store. So if I hit update app, it's going to take me there. Or if I just hit the applications page and go to the Play Store, it's going to take me there. If I go to search and hit Google Maps, it's essentially going to show me the application, and it's going to say updated. Okay, so it says here update. So I'm updating it. I'm connected to a 4G LTE Wi-Fi network connectivity. I don't have the Wi-Fi function on, obviously because I have the SIM card in there, and I'm not about to use Wi-Fi, because ultimately what I want to do is I want to use both Wi-Fi. I want to use both the internet for YouTube videos, and I also want to use Apple CarPlay. But the reason why I want to use CarPlay is because I love seeing the split screen function, which we're about to get into here very shortly. But before that, let's just go over Google Play Store. So I'm updating Google Maps. Let me download a couple more applications just so you guys can see that function. Let's go to YouTube. Gotta have YouTube. Let me install that. I'm gonna download Netflix. Gotta have that. All right. Search and I'm just kind of, you know, if I have the Ring camera system at my house, since I have a cellular network, and somebody comes to my house and rings me at the house, it's gonna notify me here on the application. It's gonna notify me on my in my car on my radio that someone's ringing my house, and I could talk back to them directly through the application from the car. So that would be Ring. I mean, heck, maybe you have Lorix. You can download the Lorix home application as well. Maybe you can care less about your phone and you want to have Spotify directly on your radio, and you don't want to have to rely on your phone for the audio quality. Maybe you want it directly off the radio because it sounds better. Maybe you're a TikTok fan and you want to also download TikTok on there. And then just to impress your friends, maybe you also want to have Facebook. Maybe you also want to have, let's see, so Facebook, maybe you also want to have, and guys, this radio, it's just flying. It's flying with me. Maybe I want to have Instagram. I mean, 8 gigs of RAM, guys. I mean, this thing is it's just flying with me. Like I said, I want to install that. And look, when I go to the apps page, look what's going on here. Let me see. Where is my applications page? Let me go over here. I'm waiting for them to download. Okay. So then, let's see what's going on here. Give me one sec. So let me go back to the Play Store. Oops. I gotta bring that down. Okay. So I am just waiting for the applications to finish downloading. A lot of them are still sort of downloading. It is a little spotty, but we are making progress. Okay, so just to give you an idea, that's kind of still happening. The applications are still loading because they're not showing in the applications page. YouTube is already there, and we're going to see the rest of them begin to populate. But since YouTube is already there, which is my favorite, this is what I love doing with my SIM card and my Apple CarPlay. So my phone is connected, so I like to obviously map. Let's just say I want to go to LAX, and I want to go to LAX. I'm not going to hit go yet. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to press and hold this button over here. It's going to ask me what application do you want to share Apple CarPlay with. So I'm going to go to my apps page and I'm going to tell it YouTube. So now CarPlay is going to reboot. Okay. And now I have YouTube videos in here. So now what I'm doing is let's select music. So now I am watching a music video while I drive to LAX. So that's music. LAX. So that's music. The minute I hit go,
starting route to LAX Airport, California. Head southeast on Clifton Court, then take the first right onto Red Wing Drive.
So now I'm watching a YouTube video, and if during the day I like the dark screen mode better, what I could do is I could go into settings and set my radio to nighttime mode instead of auto. But during the nighttime, if I want it all to sort of match, now this is gonna go dark, right? Now remember, YouTube has the ability to make itself also be viewed in dark mode. This is just, I haven't set it up. I just downloaded the app. I haven't gone into my preferences so that the application is viewed in dark mode as well. But the white line right over here, if I grab that and drag it down, CarPlay will take over. If I take it and drag it up, YouTube will take over. But this is what I love about CarPlay. Look, if I go all the way down, instead of giving me the stretched view, it reboots itself to give me the right aspect ratio. That is awesome. I mean, guys, there is no other radio like this one for your Jeep. And this 13-inch screen is super crisp. That's what I love about that. Yes, there's bigger screens. Yes, there's smaller screens. But one of the things that we've done on our end, we've studied the different size screens and we've seen which ones truly have the best image quality. And that's why we didn't go with the smaller screen. That's why we didn't go with the bigger screen. That's why we went with a 13-inch, because a 13-inch screen has the best resolution in the market. Trust me, I've seen a lot of them. So anyways, that's as far as downloading applications. We have YouTube is still there. Netflix is already there. And so they're slowly but surely coming in. Netflix is already here. And if I want that to be dark mode, you'll see the bottom. It's going to go dark as well. I just turned on my lights. And so now Netflix and everything is almost looks like one full screen. I just turned the lights back off. It's going to go day mode. So that's applications at its finest. I would not be able to do that if I was fighting Wi-Fi hotspot. Okay, fine. It says use maps in same as the device. So I'll have it follow the lights in the car. Save. So if the device lights are off, if the vehicle lights are off and the radio is in day mode, it'll be in day mode. If I turn my lights on and it'll be in night mode, the map will also be in night mode. Guys, I'm telling you, this thing is just on a whole nother level in so many different ways. The hard buttons, the knob, the hill descent controls, the traction control off, the parking sensor on or off function. You have your hazards button, knob for changing tracks. I mean, a full touch screen. The climate controls. I mean, there is so much to this radio. It is unbelievable. So guys, it's so easy to get excited about everything that this radio can do. It's so easy to get excited about all the different features and functions. But I think most importantly, what is very important is how this radio integrates into the vehicle, right? Remember that your factory radio has vehicle control functions. There's off-road pages. There's all these different things. And so what makes this system vehicle specific, besides the fact that it's shaped, it fits, it looks great, it works, is there is a car settings application. So once you go to your applications page inside of your car settings, if you look across the top, you have your off-road pages. You also have your car settings. This is everything that the factory radio had the ability to control. So the plan is for us to not make you lose these features and functions. And this is because we are our own software development company. It is our CAN bus module. We're able to do this from A through Z. But let's talk about a few things here. The off-road pages, you do have them. You can see them, but there will be no information unless you plug in the EV module. The EV module is sold separately. Once you do have the EV module plugged in, this will then have information for you because the EV module is what communicates with the vehicle's other side of the data bus to be able to get this information for you. So again, this is just the off-road pages. Car settings, you're good. Car settings, everything that your factory radio had the ability to control, you're perfectly fine. But as far as off-road pages goes, you need that EV module for this to have information. Not only that, if your Jeep happens to be a 4xe model, you're also going to need that EV module, because inside of car settings, all the way at the bottom, there is the 2023 Jeep 4xe. What's going to happen is once you plug the EV module, you enable this. Currently, there's two options. The minute you enable that, you're going to get a third option. You'll be able to see your power flow information as well. So that EV module, guys, is very important. Make sure that you know about that. Make sure that you ask about that. You don't want to get into a position where you're already installed and you come to find out you needed the EV module and now you have to go get it, pull the radio back out to plug it in. It's not hard, but it's just time consuming. So just heads up, make sure that that's not the case. So again, guys, this is another thing that is unique, very special about our solution is that we're not using any third-party integration companies. It is us from A through Z to be able to provide you with this here. That's how I'm able to go in detailed all of the information that you need to know on how to use this radio. All right, guys, so the only thing left to do here is to snap in the right side, put in our screws. As you saw earlier, you get the security bit. These are not just any Torx like screws. These are the ones that have the security bit. This is another thing that makes our radio very unique. Is that it bolts onto your dash. It doesn't necessarily just clip on. You get a total of 5 screws. You're only gonna need 4, but if you drop one, you lost one, then you at least have 4 more to be able to continue to move forward. So thank you so much for your time. If there's anything that I've missed, I'm gonna sit here and give it some more thought just in case I missed anything. And if I did, I'll definitely make sure to come back and touch base on that for you guys. Thank you so much. Comment, let us know if you have any questions or concerns. All right, so there is a little more that I wanted to give you guys. One of the things that I personally like doing is I mean, for me, in-car entertainment is huge. And so I like music videos. I like playing videos here at home, in my backyard, anywhere and everywhere that I can. So you saw earlier that I had, this USB. You can't see it from that angle, but I have a USB thumb drive plugged into the USB input. One of the things that I like to do is I'd like to go ahead and like for example, I'll get into a file browser here and I'll go to my USB drive, and what I'll do is I'll come in here. These are all the different videos that I have on the USB drive, total of 2, 4, 5 videos. And so what I do is I'm going to copy them. I'm going to go into the built-in memory of the radio, and I'm going to go into let's go with the movies, and I'm gonna go ahead and paste them on there. So now I'm transferring the music videos from my USB thumb drive onto the radio's flash memory. And again, I mean, I don't have to have them on my USB thumb drive anymore when I can just put them here. I should also be able to go do other stuff while the radio is doing that. Another thing I wanted to do was I actually want to turn on this lamp that I have in here. I want to show you what it looks like at night, obviously with the buttons lit up, the screen completely dark, and set to its minimum brightness setting. I think it's something that's definitely worth touching on. So I'm gonna come in here and let me go ahead and I'll just open up a video, for example, do that, and why not split screen that with Apple CarPlay. And so I'll do this. So instead of the phone itself, I'm gonna see the maps. So I'm watching a music video. So notice that the music video is on top because I started with music videos. So whatever application you want on top, start with the application. If you want your maps to be on top, then start with CarPlay and then split screen with a video application. That's how that works. So I've got this up and running. I'm gonna turn on my lights. So yep, the lights inside here are on. So the lights in here are on. Let me turn off this lamp. And I'm gonna zoom out for you guys. Just give me 1 sec. So the lamp is off. Now let me turn off the interior lights. So now this is with all the lights off. I gotta tell you, this looks fantastic.
Say, ladies, do me this solid.
So another piece of information that I wanted to share with you guys, and this is very important for all of you audiophiles. I mean, what's a screen like this where you can watch music videos and play all these different things if you can't do a full aftermarket audio system? Don't forget that this radio, in addition to having front, rear, and subwoofer RCA outputs, it has a toss-link fiber optic output, which is awesome. I mean, I can't tell you enough about that. But in addition to that, I wanted to share with you guys right now that I am in dark mode, nighttime in the car. I'm gonna go into my applications page and I'm gonna open up my DSP. I mean, this is very important because you know you want to be able to tune the radio. So you have a 16 band EQ, which is gonna adjust from 20 to 20,000 hertz. You can tune your own audio wave. You can set it to however you want it to sound like. I believe the USB is still playing. Yep. So my USB input's still playing. That's my EQ settings. You can go ahead and save 3 different EQ presets of your own. All you have to do is hit save at the bottom and then select any one, custom one, save it, so that you can then go through all the different ones, change the way it sounds, or go through any one of the included presets, or go back to the one that you set earlier, right? So this is your EQ page. If you swipe over to the left, you now have your, at the top bar, that's your high pass filter. The middle bar is your mid band pass filter. And the bottom bar is your subwoofer output filter. So this is where you're telling your subs at what frequency you want them to play. This right here at the bottom is your subwoofer gain control. This is like a digital bass knob. When you put an aftermarket amplifier with your subs, it's like a digital bass knob. So that's what that is. You swipe over to the left. This is sound stage. So if I'm in here by myself and I want to adjust the stage so that it sounds like it's more for me, I'll set that up right there. If it's 2 of us in there and I want the sound to sound more like it's coming from the center of the dash and I want to move the stage to the top of the dash, then I'll make those settings like that. If I want a little bit of reverb in the car where it sounds like I'm in church or a hall, I'll go ahead and start doing something like this, where the rear speakers are playing at a different time, and that gives the entire vehicle a little more, it makes the vehicle feel bigger inside just because of the way the system sounds. And then of course your last page, this is your front left and right gain controls, your rear left and right gain controls, and that's what this is. So this is your fader and balance when it comes to your speaker outputs. Guys, this is an awesome radio. I can't tell you enough. I'm glad I got to do this in the dark for you guys. You know, it speaks volume just because of how bright it was in here when we were going over it, and then looking at it now in this setup. I mean, it's literally an entire whole new vehicle. Thank you so much for your time again. Have a great day. Hey guys, so I know that for all of you guys, it's very important to look at the fit and finish. So what I did was I took the camera off the mount only because I wanted to give you a up close and personal view of the fit and finish of this, you know, kit all along the top of your dash and how awesome this looks. I believe I have, I'll show you. So that's the top right here. And then we'll go over the passenger side just so you guys could get a little B-roll of how this dash fits and how this kit fits onto your dash. I know it's important, so I wanted to make sure that, you know, I take it off the stand and show you guys some pretty good angles um, of the dash so you could see, you know, how great this kit fits in here and how well it integrates all the way through. I mean, you know, this is up close, you know, with the buttons, climate controls, temp, volume. I mean, it's very tactile, very responsive. Hill, downhill, or assist, traction control. It's on, it's off. And so, you know, this is with the screws already in there. I mean, this radio is not, it's not going anywhere fast. So it's bolted in there with the mounting brackets. Hopefully this does clear up a lot as far as how well this thing fits. But I'm telling you, it's the best radio I've seen for JL and JT.